Welcome to episode 7 of the BA Coaches Show. Ever since we kind of changed things up a little bit, I've had a lot of good feedback and I've been having a lot of good interactions with people throughout social media in the Huskerverse. This is episode 7 coming out on June 9th, 2024. And hey, we are full swing into football mode now. Nebraska baseball has ended. Throughout these next few months of summer, we're going to be fully focused on football. That's what we're doing here. Throughout this format, we're going to do a little bit of a different format for the off season. I'm going to try and divide this thing into segments a little bit. Just because instead of me just sitting here and talking for however long, I'm going to try and divide these things up into segments that kind of become a consistent thing. Opponent breakdowns are coming. That'll probably be in like July. I'm going to pick whether it'll be the first few opponents or all of them. I'm going to try and divide like one an episode and we're going to break them down. I'll probably have some film to show you guys and we're going to do like a full X's and O's breakdown. So I'm excited about that. We have Nebraska, Nebraska guests coming on this thing as well, hosts of other podcasts, trying to work on a few coaches. I don't know if I'll be able to pull that off, but I do have a couple former players that I've reached out to, and I'm working hard. I'm trying to get on some other Nebraska podcasts. Like I'll go be a guest on their podcast and talk as well. It'll be a really fun time. A few things. I mean, hey, it'll be a little cut off, but like, hey, got the new shirt, rocking the new shirt. Going to be selling those for about $15 here soon. So if you want to buy one, definitely hit me up on all the socials. And I want to give a shout out to my guys at No Block, No Rock podcast. They talk all things Nebraska sports all the time. They have a great podcast. If you're listening to this and you're like only listening to this because you're a Nebraska fan, you've probably already heard of these guys. They're great. All those guys over there, they're always super great to me. Really excited for all the great things they do. I hit up Mike about the new hat they have. It's pretty sick, and this thing got here in like 2 days. So I really love this hat. I wanted to shout them out today because I'm going to be rocking this thing probably for a few episodes. And yeah, I'm excited. Hope you guys like kind of the segment kind of plan we have today. Some of the things I plan is I'm going to start doing some positional breakdowns, previewing the season. Today's the offensive line. We're going to have a debate topic of the day, and I'm going to talk about some of the controversy that I charged on Nebraska Twitter. I started some controversy. I had a lot of people hating on me. I had to turn off some comments. I had to block some people, but we'll get all into that shortly. Hey, I got some exciting news for Paola Chamber members and local businesses. Are you ready to elevate your brand with stunning headshots? Join us on Tuesday, June 11th at Cafe Latte for a special photo shoot event with Brooklyn Harmon Photography. It's coming up real quick. Get 3 to 5 professional images for just $35 and enjoy $1 off your delicious Cafe Latte meal. But hey, we're getting real close, so you need to hurry because the spots aren't limited. So book your slot now and refresh your marketing content library in style. Hey, I want to let you know my pretty face will be there. I'm recording this on Friday. On Saturday, I'm going to get all shaved up, looking all nice and fancy, and I'm going to go get a professional headshot. So, hey, if you're in the Paola area, be there. It's just $35. So one of the segments that's going to be a recurring little theme on this podcast is going to be the BA coaches breakdown. During this off season here, for the next few weeks, I'm going to be doing it by position group. During the season, we're going to do the BA coaches breakdown with game film. Once we get closer to the season, when I do like my whole offensive and defensive preview, I'll do some game film breakdown. But right now I'm not going to do that. Today, we're going to be previewing kind of some of my thoughts on the offensive line unit. That's the big one today. Overall, I feel really good about this group. This is one of the groups that I feel really confident with, which is kind of crazy to think over the last few years. I say we have 2 guys that are 100% starters. I think we got 2 guys that are probable starters, but I think that right guard spot I think it could be open, or one of the guard spots. But overall, Donovan Raiola has done a really good job with his room and really good job with this group. I really think so. This unit took a huge step forward in 2023, and we do have a lot of guys with returning starters, and we have like a lot of guys that are just returning, getting a lot of playing time. So I feel good about that. It's crazy to think how bad this unit was in 2022, Frost last year, and how much of a step forward they took last year. And I have full confidence with the returning guys we have. We're going to also be taking a really big step forward again this year. Biggest thing we got to improve on, and this isn't all on the offensive line. This is just an overall offensive thing. We got to get touchdowns on the board. right? Touchdowns win games, and I feel that's a thing at high school level, college level, and in the NFL. It's just a football thing. Touchdowns win game. I'll do it bigger, like I said, film breakdown closer to the season, but I do expect a lot of outside zone again this year. I listening to some of the things Rules talked about, I expect some 49er style wide zone. I think that could be a big thing. But I do expect quite a bit of variety again from them in the run schemes. Nebraska's had a big variety in their run schemes the last few years, and that's good. The counter play was one of our best plays last season. I expect some more power looks as well. But our counter look, if you go to the Purdue game, I want to say it was late third quarter or early fourth quarter. They had the game sealing touch. I could be wrong on the time. It's been a while since I went back and watched that game. We had a counter look right there. I think it was our last touchdown of the game that was just so beautifully ran. It was textbook, and it was a nice big touchdown. So I expect counter to be one of our best plays. In the run game, some of our duo gap scheme stuff didn't look very bad. Same with our inside zone, and we ran some split zone in the spring game. But overall, something I watched, one of my notes I had from every game last season, and one of the biggest things I noticed in the spring game is our offensive line has got to do a better job getting to the second level. A lot of times the mic just honestly didn't even really get touched, and that can be a problem. I noticed that in the spring game a bit, and just getting to the second level, especially. I mean, I know it was just a spring game, but I felt like that was something that I was wanting to see more when I went back and watched it a few times. Was I felt like our uncovered guards on some of those zone plays weren't getting to the next level. Like there was a couple of them where they did really good double team, and then when it was time to get to that next level, they took a couple steps and they either took a bad angle and whiffed on him, or sometimes I know it was a spring game, so it's hard to judge too much, but they just didn't get. They take that couple steps and then just not do anything. So we can get to the second level. I feel really good about this unit. Overall, like I said, I do feel really good about our offensive line. It's crazy to think. I think it might be one of the strongest suits of our team just because of how deep we are. Deep as in we have a lot of guys there. And this season, the offensive line has to be really good this season. We got to protect Rayola. But I really do think that next year, 2025, we're going to have a lot of open spots. So it'd be good if we have a good solid unit this year to build off of. Something that I really liked from our offensive line last year was our red zone scoring was pretty good. Once we actually got down there, 46th in yards per rushing attempt isn't bad in rushing at all. I can live with that. I think if we stay there, our rushing attack wasn't too bad last year. 28th in penalties per game. That's top percentage in the country. So I feel good with that. If we can run the ball as good as we did last year, I think we'll be fine. But the biggest thing we need to improve on right now is protecting Dylan Raiola. If we can protect him well, especially from the tackle spots, if we can protect him, I think Raiola is going to flourish. I have 100% faith in Dylan Raiola. My biggest worry for him, I think the only reason he doesn't come in and shine right away and be the best freshman quarterback in the country is if our offensive line lets him down. If we can protect him, I think he'll be the best freshman in the country next year, hands down. That's just where I think. Things we need to improve from last year, and this isn't all on the offensive line, but our third down needs to get better. We're about middle of the pack in the country at about 37%. And that wasn't all on them. That was a lot on our terrible quarterback play last year. But if we get to the mid to high 40s, we'll be really good. And we'll be a solid offense. We can get that third down percentage. And honestly, although our quarterback play was tremendous, I don't know why I said tremendous. Our quarterback play was terrible last year. Some of that comes from not protecting them on the edge at all. They were getting killed. We're 92nd in sacks per game. We can't be letting Dylan Raiola get killed like that. And we were 115th out of 134. I believe it was 134 in scoring touchdowns. That has to change. We can't be 115th. Like I said, I think 3-4 games we lost 13-10 last year. If one of those field goals becomes a touchdown, we win. We're going bowling, right? We got to score touchdowns. That's the biggest thing. I think our defense is going to be fine. But I'll go through some of who I kind of think is going to be part of our projected lineup for this coming up year. Teddy Prohaska, I think he'll be our starting left tackle. He played 381 snaps last year, and Pro Football Focus graded him at a 66.9. I know Pro Football Focus isn't like the greatest thing in the world, but they do have a lot of dedicated people to the player grade. So I'm kind of looking at some of that today. I pray to God Teddy can stay healthy. He has such a big body and he can be such a great, powerful player, but he's got to stay healthy. He's dealt with injuries ever since he got to Lincoln. If he can stay healthy and big and progress, he will be. How great would it be to have a stable left tackle? How fantastic would that be? Um, he came into spring this year about 15-ish pounds lighter, which personally I really like because he's a really big guy. Um, and the biggest thing we need from him is to be a agile and better at pass blocking. So I think that would be great for him. I like him coming in a little bit lighter, and if Rayola or Donovan Rayola can keep him going the way he's been progressing, guys, I think he'll be good. Who I think is going to start at left guard? I think there's 3, 4 guys competing for our 2 guard spots. Who I project to be at our left guard spot is Justin Evans Jenkins. He played 387 snaps last year, and he was graded about 61.3. He played in all 12 games, and he had some good games, especially in the run game. I think he's a probable starter based off the experience he had, but I wouldn't say he's 100% because I think a lot of our guard spots comes down to how does this happen in the fall? How does fall camp come around? If he has a decent fall camp, I think he'll be the left guard starter. But if he sucks it up, I think we have some other guys that can step up in there. At center, I'd say 100% starter is Ben Scott. I'm so goddamn happy he's back. He's back in Lincoln. He's my 100% starter. He is a much needed staple at the offensive line at center. He played 743 snaps and was graded at 63.8. He certainly has the toughness and grit we want from a lineman, and especially a center. Like, hopefully we can get a little bit better at the penalties, right? I feel like some of that he was a little bit, some of that grittiness and toughness caused some penalties, but I think he is poised to have a huge season and be an anchor on the offensive line. That center position, having a really good center is so important for the offensive line unit. And I'm hoping he can compete to get some Big Ten honors this season. I think he's going to be a really good center. It's hard to really talk about him and Ben Hart because like they're 100% stars. There's not really much to look for other than just don't suck, right? Who I think is going to start at right guard is newcomer to Lincoln, Micah Mazkua. I could be pronouncing that wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna call him Micah, so I'm not completely disrespecting because it irritates me when people pronounce my name wrong all the time. But hey, I'm gonna do better at correcting people on that. Um, yeah, he's a new face in Lincoln. He's coming from Florida. He started 11 games at Florida. The year before, 22, and he was at Baylor. He was the second highest rated guard in the Big 12. I think he played in all but one game there. So he's a solid player. He's played at Baylor and Florida. Those are big name places. He only has 1 year eligibility left. So I do expect him to contribute right away. That's why I think he'll be our starting right guard. I think, like I said, I think both those guard spots are up for grabs right now. But I think Micah's going to start. Like I said, he was one of the 2 years ago. He was the second highest rated guard in the Big 12. Things didn't really work out at Florida, but he still did decent there. So I expect him to contribute. The coaches have kind of challenged him a bit in the spring. But I think I think part of this is to get him to really show up fired up. I don't think he's really sucking. I mean, again, I don't know. I'm not at spring practice, but I think they're going to try and get him with a chip on his shoulder coming into fall camp. And I think he's going to shine. The biggest reason I think he's going to start over some of these other guys is just because I feel like his experience at playing at a Baylor and playing at a SEC school like Florida will definitely help him. He knows what it takes to play in big games, and Nebraska is obviously a big school. My hope is he starts at right guard. I'm very excited for him to be here in Lincoln. Bryce Benhart is probably our best offensive lineman. He was our best rated offensive lineman at 70.3 by Pro Football Focus. I'd say he is our other 100% starter. He's gonna be in a great spot to go earn some Big Ten honors. Again, hard to talk about some of these guys that are really good. It's like, hey, these are the guys. Yeah, I think he's going to be great. I'm excited to have him back. I'm so glad he's staying in Lincoln. Some of the guys that I think will still be in the rotation, especially we all know Nebraska has a bad history of having some injuries, especially at that O-line position. Turner Cochran's going to come back from an injury. I think he's okay. I think maybe they shift him to inside to compete to one of the guard spots. He was getting consistently beat at tackle. He was getting, especially pass rush wise, he was getting destroyed. I think that contributed to some of our bad quarterback play. But I think he might shift inside. I don't see him being a starter, but he's another guy in there. Henry Latovsky is a guy that has all the tools to start at guard, but he hasn't just seemed to be able to put them all together into order to get some starts. He seems like a really talented guy, and I think he has all the tools. So if we get in a pinch or get some injuries, I'm not mad about him going in there. But I do think the reason I put Micah ahead of him is just because of the experience at the big schools, and he hasn't just been getting completely beat like Latovsky has. But hey, again, if there's a situation where he needs to go in the game and play, I feel confident with him. The one player that I want to throw out here though for you guys that I think could be a little bit of a dark horse to maybe get some playing time. Grant Bricks from Iowa, right? He's the top rated player out of Iowa. He was the number 2 offensive lineman in the country. I think he's a guy. The coaching staff seems really excited about him. And of course, you're always like, yeah, of course they're excited about him. Well, they recruited him, right? But I legitimately think they're excited about this guy. Just kind of the vibes that I've gotten from the staff. What I'm excited to see how he does. I can't, one of the things I'm excited for when I go up to visit fall practice here in August, I think I'll be up there the first week of August. One of the things I'm most excited about is to see how he does. He might be a guy that sneaks in some time this year, especially if the guard spots aren't getting it done or what. I think he's a guy that injuries pop up. I think he could get in there. He's a sneaky guy. I think he's a dark horse. Everyone's kind of looking at him as probably playing and starting his sophomore year. Look out. I think he could probably get some playing time this year. But yeah, that's kind of what I had for the O line. Just kind of want to throw some thoughts out there. Who I have as the starter. I'd like to know what some of you guys think about that. And yeah, like I said, I feel really confident with this group. I think for the first time in a few years, this is one of Nebraska's strong suits, is having a good offensive lineman. We bring a lot of guys back that have playing time. Again, we keep Raiola healthy. We don't get him sacked. I think he is going to shine, and I think we're in a really good spot. I really do. I think we're in a good spot with our offensive line. A little segment we've done on here before, just quick Q&A. I didn't get very many questions this week, but it's fine. I think I got, what, four questions, so no big deal. We'll run through these pretty quick. I'm going to keep putting these out, and if you guys have questions, throw them out, and I'll answer them. Got a question about KU's football record, kind of what I think. How do I think they do this season? I know this is a Husker podcast, but I threw it out for overall college football, so this is the only non-Husker question I got. But looking at their schedule, I think the ceiling for them is probably 9 wins. I think the floor, I think they can easily get 6 wins. They got Lindenwood to start. I think if you lose that one, you're in quite a bit of trouble. Illinois is going to be a tough game. I think they can. I think that's 50-50 game. Illinois is going to be better. Should be able to beat UNLV. Should be able to beat West Virginia. I think they can beat TCU. I think they can beat Arizona State. Houston, K-State, and Iowa State. That's a really rough stretch. Then the end of the year, BYU, Colorado, Baylor. Depending on how Colorado is this year, I honestly have no idea what to expect from them. But I think you can get 9-10 wins out of that, and I think the floor is 6. If we don't win 6 with that schedule, then I think Leipold might not be as good as what everyone thinks he is. I'm not saying he's not. I think Leipold's doing a really good job. I'm just saying you got to win 6 with that easy of a schedule. Next question I had is how do I think Dylan Raiola is going to do as a true freshman? Okay, I just got to be real. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I'm drinking the Roule-Aid, so to speak. I'm all over Dylan Raiola. Just watching, it's hard to judge off high school, but he played at a really good high school, and he's going to be good. What I saw from the spring game, this dude is going to be legit. Like I said earlier, the biggest concern I have, don't hurt, can't get him hurt and can't get him sacked a bunch. We keep him up. I think he's going to be good. We don't even need him to come in and be great, guys. We don't even really need him to be good. We just need him to not turn the damn ball over and we're fine. If we don't turn the ball over, this offense is going to be good. And I think he is going to be good. Some of the throws he made at the spring game, I'm like, ooh, that's pro prospect throws. I'm not saying you can go to the pros right now. I'm just saying that's pro arm talent right there. So I'm really excited for Dylan Raiola. Question I got, this one came from my brother, is what do I think the ceiling and the floor is for Nebraska this year? All right, let's be real. The floor for Nebraska, It's got to be pretty low, right? Just because of who we have been the last few years, at least in my opinion. I don't see how we don't win six, though. I understand it's Nebraska, so maybe they'll find a way to only win 4 or 5 games. But with this schedule, there is if we don't win, uh, there's no way. UTEP, no how why what, go. I'll talk about UTEP here in a second. Colorado, I think we can go win that game. I don't think Colorado's going to be that good this year, but hey, who knows? Call that an L. I'm not going to, but call it an L. Okay, UTEP, Northern Iowa, Illinois would be a tough game, but I feel like we can beat them. Purdue should be able to beat them. Rutgers going to be better this year. Indiana, dude, if we're not minimum 5-2 going into Ohio State, I want to bash my head against the wall. We got UCLA; they're going to be trash this year. And then USC, Wisconsin, and Iowa. We can get another win out of that. We're looking at if we don't hit 6 this year, I'm going to lose my mind. Is what I'm basically trying to say. The ceiling, from what I see, I think our ceiling's probably 9, maybe 10. I think if we play as good as we can, I mean, looking at that schedule again, if we're as good as what I think we have the potential to be, UTEP, Colorado, Northern Iowa, Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Indiana. I think no matter how good we do, we're probably going to lose to Ohio State. USC depends on how good they are. I mean, I could see us win 9 or 10. I really could, but I also could see us winning like 4 or 5 because it's Nebraska. So that's kind of what I think is our ceiling. I'll do a big schedule breakdown, like I said, week by week, like kind of once we get closer to it. But I that's kind of what I'm thinking so far. And this is a question I really freaking like. What is the biggest thing I want to see in the UTEP game? Okay. This is going to be the football coach in me speaking for a second and not the fan in me speaking. I'm not worried about what the final score ends up being necessarily. I'm worried about how we look in that game. I like no freaking turnovers, but if we turn the ball over once, it's fine. We got to win the turnover battle. I'm not, like I said, I'm not as much worried about the score. Obviously, I want us to win, and I think we can win. But I mean, we're like, what, 3, 4 touchdown favorites? If we only win by 27 as opposed to 30, I don't freaking care. If we honestly only win by 18 as opposed to 30, I really don't care. Would I love that? Yes. But if we perform well and it's just kind of one of those games, that's the thing that I think gets lost in these early season games. And this is coming from a high school football coach's perspective, is get so wrapped up in the score. And your season isn't determined by how you do in that first game, right? The biggest thing, and I'm going to steal it from Nick Saban, is reading all that rat poison, hearing the rat poison stuff. Because I think a big problem that we get is, oh, well, they were supposed to win by 30 and they only won by 19. Like, is this team not as good at, like, they went and blew out another D1 football team by 20 points or whatever. Like, that's hard to do. And again, football is one of those things. And no matter what happens, football is a game where bad stuff is going to happen. Always does. You can go win. I mean, last year in Spring Hill, we went and played Bonner Springs. We had like 56 points in the first quarter and minute and a half, right? Bad stuff happens in football, though. Even that game where we blew them out, there's still things you got to improve on. Same with college football, same with the pro football. Nothing's going to go perfect. So I'm more worried about when something bad happens, how do we improve from it? And can we limit the mistakes? That's the biggest thing I want from the UTEP game. It isn't, oh, I want to go win by 30 points. Like, I don't care. You sound like a stupid fan when you say things like that. It just shows you don't know kind of what goes into it. Like, I want to go out there and look good. That's my biggest thing I'm looking for in the UTEP game. All right, here's the part where we can talk about some of the controversy that I started on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to stand by this. This is a topic that I felt kind of passionate about, and you guys might get your first BA rant from me today. Okay, here's what happened. Okay, I had a lot of people on Nebraska Twitter mad at me at the BA Coaches Show. Make sure you go follow. I caused quite a bit of controversy because I said that if you think Bo Pelini should have been fired and have Mike Riley replace him, I can't have an intelligent football conversation with you. And maybe I could have worded that better, but I stand by that. And one of the things I was pointed out was those are two separate conversations. And I'll say, you know what? Yeah, I worded that poorly. Okay. I think the firing of Bo was arguable. I think it was stupid. And I'm going to go on about why that was stupid. But maybe they're not two hand in hands. But here's what I'm trying to say. with this. If you think, even looking back in hindsight, if you think firing Bo Pelini and hiring Mike Riley was a good decision for this program, you are an idiot, and I can't have a full-on intelligent football conversation with you, and I'm not going to do it. Just going to throw that out there. The other part of this, I was getting a lot of shade from people telling me why we should have fired Bo Pelini, and I'm going to go, a lot of the arguments that I saw, I'm going to tell you why I disagree on that. And here's the other thing I gotta say, is I kind of had to block some people for the first time on Twitter. I really don't want to block any Husker fans, but if you're gonna go on there and like, just because I wasn't being aggressive towards anybody. Some people's first comment back to me was telling me to go kill myself and stuff. I was like, yo, let's chill out a little bit, guys. It's just football talk. I wasn't being angry towards anybody. And again, this was not like we had a back and forth and then they said it. It was, I think firing Bo Pelini was stupid. And they're like, oh, so I had to block some people. I also, for the first time ever, didn't even know I could do this. I could turn off to where you had to follow me to comment things. And I thought that was a good decision because I started getting a lot less hateful comments that way. Here's the thing. A lot of the arguments that I saw for firing Bo Pelini are weak at best, okay? If you have a better argument, I'd love to hear it. But from what I heard, it was still terrible, okay? Granted, I was 14 when he got fired, and 14-year-old me knew it was stupid, but he was 67-27 at Nebraska. He won a minimum of 9 games every year. You realize all of us fans are begging and pleading for us to get 6? We're begging for 6. And this guy was winning 9 every year. We're dying for that. If this team wins 9 games this year, we are losing our mind as a fan base. If we win 9 games, we're going to be one of the toughest places to play in the country because of how insane this thing's going to be. We're dying for it. One of the big arguments I saw was he lost the big games. He lost the big games against good teams. Here's the thing, dummies, okay? I would rather be in a position right now where we're losing big games against big teams rather than losing every game against average teams. We're losing games to bad teams right now. The last few years. We're not even playing in big games right now because we're not good enough to play in big games. I never understand that argument, and I didn't understand it when I was 14 years old, and now I'm 24 years old, 10 years later, and it still doesn't make any sense to me. We're not playing in big games right now. Maybe you could make that argument at the time, but if you can't look back in hindsight and say how stupid that was, what are we doing? What are we having a conversation about? Okay? The other arguments I saw was he should have been fired because of the bad things he said about the fans, and he hated the fans. Okay? Do I love what he said about Nebraska fans? No, but I can at least understand it. And if you're gonna fire him when it happens. Don't wait. Don't wait, fire him right then. If that's the deal breaker for you, fire him right there. Oh, but you don't want to fire him because he was still winning games. Interesting. Again, I don't love it, but hey, a lot of what I said calling Nebraska fans entitled, I can't disagree with it. I wish you wouldn't have used some of the words you said, saying F up, F the fans and all that. Get that. Again, I'm glad he, came and apologized for it. I don't love it, but I at least understand where he's coming from. One of the other things I saw was that, he was a jerk to the refs. That's a hilarious complaint to me because one of the complaints you see on Mike Riley was he was just too nice of a guy. Which is it? You can't have it both ways, right? Bo Pelini's a fired up guy. He is. Is that how I coach and talk to refs? No, that's not how I coach. But he's winning games for a reason. His players know he backs them up. His players know he will go fight for them. I have talked to a few former players. I'm not in one of those positions where I'm I'm not super, but I've had conversations with guys. I've had guys that played there, coach college ball now, talk to me. I've talked to former players when I go up and visited camp. I got to talk to 3 or 4 former players that played for Bo and Mike Riley. Every single one of them have said how much better it was to play for Bo Pelini. They all love Bo. Maybe there's a guy out there that didn't love playing for Bo. I haven't heard it yet. I haven't. So for the fans to say, he was a jerk, it's kind of hilarious because all the players loved him. Did he come unhinged at times? A&M comes to mind. Yeah, sure. Maybe he took it too far. But then you can't complain that he was crazy and took it too far when you're then going to complain that Mike Riley was just too nice and didn't get angry. Stupid, but not the stupidest argument I heard. The stupidest argument I heard was this. I had people actually commenting and saying, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Fire him because he wouldn't have been winning games as the Big Ten got better. Fire him because you know that the Big Ten got so much better, blah, blah, blah. Hold on. You're saying because the Big Ten was good in like 17, 18, 19, 20? Fire him in that for 2014? What? What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? You're going to fire him for something that hasn't even happened yet. You're firing him for losing games he hasn't lost yet. So maybe, yes, the conference did get harder as time went on. Looking back in hindsight, yes, the conference got harder. Would we have been able to keep the 9-win seasons together? Maybe not, but who knows? You didn't give him a chance. So you're saying fire him for losing games he hasn't lost yet. Do you realize how stupid that sounds? Do you realize how absolutely stupid that? I could go back on Twitter and read you, but I'm not going to. Okay? Just know if you comment that and you happen to be listening to this, that's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. So you're telling me, because I don't know, Oklahoma's moving to the SEC. The SEC is going to be harder than the Big 12. Going to go fire Brent Venables because he hasn't been winning? Or he's not going to do as good in the SEC as he did in the Big 12. But what are you doing? You can't fire him for not losing games yet. A conference, he was winning in the Big 10. Yes, looking back in hindsight, the Big 10 continued to get better and better. But you're going to fire him for losing games he hasn't even lost yet. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And yes, am I a bit passionate about that? Maybe. I have a son named Bo at this point. I'm a grown adult with a kid named Bo. Maybe I care about Bo Pelini too much. And I don't really care that. Like, hey, looking back 10 years later, it's fine. It's fine because I truly you're never going to find a bigger Matt Rule guy than me. I am a huge Matt Rule fan. I love every single assistant coach we have on staff. I've talked with a bunch of them. I talk to some of them weekly. They are great. They are great coaches. I love Matt Rule. I'm telling you, you're not going to find a bigger Matt Rule fan than me. So it's fine now. So I'm not even angry that we fired Bo Pelini still. What I'm angry about is that I was somehow the idiot when I got on social media and said that. I was somehow the dumb one for saying, oh, looking back, we shouldn't have fired him and hired Mike Riley. Somehow I was an idiot for that, and I can't understand it. So I just wanted to poke some holes in some of your things. I think that was a little bit of a rant. I think that was the first rant you guys have got to hear. So good job for that, guys. You got me fired up. But like I said, firing Bo Pelini was stupid. Hey, like I said, I'm going to try and have a debate topic of the day for each one of these episodes. Whenever I go on other podcasts, I'm also going to try and throw one of these debate topics because I want to hear Nebraska fans' opinions on some of these. And my social media following is just not big enough to be able to have a super great discussion. But this is one that I have a whole bunch of these planned. I just have to figure out what episode I want to put them in. What is your lowest moment as a Nebraska fan? So what's the moment that just absolutely crushed you that made you think, God, I hate this team so much? Mine's an easy one for me. The Georgia Southern game. And as bad as that was on the field and knowing it was the end of Frost and all that, it also hurt me on a personal level. So I'm just going to go story time for you guys a little bit. Free weekend, right? I was coaching over in Gardner. Free weekend for us. And it was going to be a good time. My wife never been to a Nebraska game. I've obviously been going to games since I was a kid, but she'd never been. Driving up so we had a Friday night football game, one big. Then I had a free week and I was coaching youth football at the time, but our youth football, it was our bye week. So I was like, all right, I can go drive up and watch this game. So we load up, got the kids dropped off or whatever. Driving up and our car breaks down. We left early, but the car broke down on the way there, right? So I call my grandparents and I'm like, hey, here's what's going on. My grandma and grandpa drive and meet us. We're 2 hours away from Lincoln at this point. Meet us, switch us cars, get my car towed all the way to where they live, 2 hours away. Got it towed there, gave us a car to drive. We made it to Lincoln, went to the game. So we're like, hey, no matter what, we made it to the game. Oh, man, listen to this. So I've been going to games, pretty much a few games a year since I was a kid, right? Had not seen this team win in person since the first Heroes game against Iowa in Lincoln, right? So that first Heroes game, my dad took me to it. First one, we won that game. I don't remember what the score was, but the first, I hadn't seen this team win just because I'm always busy at the beginning of football season. I normally can't go till the end of the season. At that point, Nebraska always sucks. This was the year that I was going to change that. I was going to be able to go in September instead of having to wait till October. So we go up there. I was so excited. I was going to see my first W. I was going to see my first W. I really thought that. Against Georgia Southern, I'm feeling good. I didn't know a ton about Georgia Southern. Something I've always done is I kind of have a like little scouting breakdowns of I've been doing this for myself. That's why I'm excited to have this podcast is so I can have somewhere to talk instead of just writing things down for myself. But I was going to see my first game. I don't even have to go into detail about how this game went because if you're listening this year, Nebraska fan, you already know. 45-42. The defense is as bad as it's ever been. It broke me, destroyed me, whatever words you want to, dude. I was angry until we like left the stadium, and then the anger was out of me. I was just so sad and disappointed. I the student as I'm leaving the student section chanting Fire Frost as the team walks off the field. That was a moment for me where I was like, holy shit, like this is done. I was like, there's no way. I was like, are they gonna fire him over the weekend? It was whatever. I'm someone that tries to keep like my social media and stuff like fairly clean. I posted a picture of me at the game being like, why is every team I root for such dog shit? I hate this team so much. Um, Leaving the game, and we're gonna stay the night at my brother's. He had an apartment like real close to the stadium, and as we're going to my brother's, we had to go to a liquor store, bought a whole bottle of Dr. McGillicuddy's apple pie. Shout out to Coach Drew Brown for turning me on to that. And man, I drank that whole bottle that night, guys. It was so bad. I was so distraught. It ruined me. Scott Frost ruined me as a Husker fan. Like normally, I when a bad loss, it ruins my Saturday. But here's my one rule. And if you know me, I always say this: I let Nebraska ruin my Saturday. I don't let it ruin my Sunday, and I don't let it affect my Monday. Guys, I was ruined till like the next Thursday. I was so angry. Anyone wanted to talk, oh, how about Nebraska? Dude, I wanted to swing on everybody. I was so angry. That's the game that broke me. So I really do truly want to hear from some of you guys. I put this on Twitter. I got a couple good answers. A couple people said the 2012 Big 12 championship game. Some people said the Big 12 screwing us, and the 2009 Big 12 championship game was a big one that broke them. I'd really like to hear from some of you guys. Comment this below, whatever. What was the moment that broke you as a fan? Because mine was Georgia Southern, and I'm telling you guys, it ruined my week. Hey, I'm just kind of leaving this part in for the end. This is our outro. I'm leaving this in. I'm throwing this at the end. Because I know if you're listening this far, you truly care. I just wanted to say thank you for all the support on this podcast. This has been a really tough transition from me from coaching every day, all the time, to not really. I mean, I'm not coaching right now, and who knows if I'll be coaching next year. So this has been really good. All the support I've gotten is really helpful. I really do appreciate that. Although my views are still like low on this podcast, especially in comparison to like literally anything, this still gives me an outlet to talk about something I love so much, which is Nebraska sports. So I'm going to continue to do that. Even if the views stay where they're at right now, it's fine. 'Cause I appreciate all you guys. I really do hope I progress and get better at this because I know I'm not a great podcast host right now, but I do hope I keep getting better at this. I think once I get the new studio going, my goal is August 1st doing an episode out in the new studio. So that's my thing. I want to start doing live streams with you guys, just talking. I'm gonna try and do that on YouTube. I'm able to do them on Twitter, maybe even do a Facebook Live. So I really hope I can do that. This product is hopefully going to keep getting better and better, and I really hope it works out. If you're a Husker fan listening to this, or even if you're just a fan of me and know me personally, please subscribe to this. Follow this if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, but if you're on YouTube, please subscribe, share my stuff. It really does help me out. I'm really trying to build something here to be able to have a good platform to talk. I do truly believe as a coach, as a coach at heart, can provide a unique perspective. And I think once I start doing film breakdowns, I think those will be really good thing. I think my Coach BA breakdowns will be a really good thing. Um, so yeah, follow me on social media. It's at the BA Coaches Show for literally everything. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, at the BA Coaches Show for everything. Hey, I'm gonna start selling some stuff. I got stickers I want to sell. Everything's gonna be pretty cheap because I'm not gonna try and make a huge profit off of it. If I can make a couple dollars here and there, it'd be great, and it'd be a good way to help me feel like I'm doing this for a good reason. BA Coaches Show shirt. This is gonna go on sale $15. This is a saying. Also have another shirt I'm going to start selling for my Husker fans out there. This is a saying that I started last year after I met this man in person. But hold on. In rule we trust. In rule we trust. Some people don't like it, but I started saying it last year and it stuck on for me. So if you want to do, we'll reach out. I'm trying to get an order forms put together. But if you want to buy something from me now, reach out and we'll make it happen. Like I said, it's going to be pretty affordable. I'm not trying to make a huge profit, but I am making a little bit of profit. Just going to be real. So something I also want to throw out there, if you have suggestions for me on this podcast, please throw it out to me. I'm begging you, please throw it out. I've gotten a lot of good suggestions. I feel like it's helped. I'm trying to get the audio quality better. I hope me just having it in my headphone today, I think that'll help. Like I said, I don't have a big ton of fancy equipment. Once I get out to the studio outside, it'll be better. I won't have a crappy green screen because I'm literally doing this in my living room right now. So yeah, I've had some people message me and say, "Hey, I didn't think your podcast was very good, but here's how it could get better." And even though I hated being like, "Oh, it sucks," but like, "Hey, it's fine. I can take it. I'll move on pretty fast." I've gotten some good suggestions. I really do have big plans for this thing. I really do have big plans for me just talking about Nebraska sports in general. I got some big things that I hope can start happening soon, but I can't really talk about that yet. So I have big plans for me in general, even if I'm not coaching next year. I got a lot of good stuff planned. I'm not done coaching and I'm not done doing this podcast. Is what I'll say. Um, so yeah, hopefully I can make it on some other podcasts here soon. My goal is to start being a guest on some of these podcasts. I'm going to try and make a trip up to Omaha or Lincoln and be in studio guests on some of these podcasts. And hopefully that'll help build the audience. If I make it on these podcasts, please tune in. If you guys get there, if you guys view their stuff and I can show that like me being on a podcast helps, it'll help me get on other podcasts is what I'm saying. Is they get an extra 30 views from me being on there, people notice that. So help me out. And that's all I have for today. Let me know what you think about the new segment idea. I'm trying it out today. I'm recording these like 10, 15 minutes at a time and seeing what happens. So yeah, GBR, baby.